Hello everybody. Today in this video I'll be going over the fundamentals of the new crossbow in Elden Ring. There's been a lot of confusion about how the new mechanics work, so I'm just going to cover all of it and hopefully it makes sense. Let's get started. So the first thing I want to talk about is aiming. When you're aiming in Elden Ring, the crossbow will automatically adjust you to be centered and shoot forward. So if I go down and then I move my camera up, you see it just automatically push me to go forward. And if I go up and I go down, it does the same thing. So this can be really annoying when you're trying to free aim because the game is always pushing you to be centered. But there's actually an easy way to get around this, because what happens is every time you shoot a crossbow, it puts you into a fixed position, which means whatever position my camera is in when I shoot, I'll be locked there. Let me show you. So you can see whatever position my camera is in, that's where the shot's gonna go, because it's a fixed position. When the crossbow shoots, it's locked exactly in whatever direction you aim your camera. And this is the exact same principle with free aim throwing knives. Whenever you free aim a throwing knife, you can't move. The animation is locked in the direction that you throw it. This is fundamentally how crossbow works. It's literally the exact same thing. All you have to do is move your camera and shoot. That simple. The only issue with this technique is that it's not always consistent. When you're dueling someone and your opponent is running all over the place, you won't have enough time to make these adjustments. But luckily you don't have to. Because of the fast pace of PvP in Elden Ring, the most effective way to use crossbow is to start every shot being centered before you begin aiming, either by toggling the lock-on or by centering your camera manually. As I mentioned at the start of the video, the game always tries to force you into aiming your crossbow forwards. Because of this, we have to always work around this factor. And so the easiest way to free aim is to always begin from the center position. The quickest way to do this is to use the lock-on, but in certain situations it's better to do it manually. I would say practice with the lock-on first because it's easier to learn. Now I'll try doing it manually. One of the new mechanics in Elden Ring is that you can lock on from extreme distances, and so long as your opponent is in lock-on range, you can still toggle the lock-on and aim. Next I will discuss stalling and holding a loaded crossbow. This is the hardest technique you will have to learn. It's fundamentally the same as manual aiming, except now you're constantly having to move and adjust your camera. From a stalled stance you can do everything as before, but now you will require far more precision. Just a quick side note about jumping, you can actually jump over exploding bolts unless you're able to reaction roll catch your opponent. So I'll show that right now. Now I'll try it with the pulley crossbow, which will give me one hit. So this is a really good counter to crossbows. As far as crossbow stat requirements, it'll pretty much work on any build. The only thing I would recommend to use is certain talismans. For one, you need the arrow sting talisman, which will give a 10% boost to arrows and bolts. And the other one is actually the spear talisman. If you didn't know, the crossbows actually still have counter damage in Elden Ring. They actually count as a thrusting weapon, and they'll get extra counter damage with the spear talisman. So I'll demonstrate that right now. So first of all, let's just look at a normal hit. 202 damage. Now let's look at just a normal counter hit. 266 damage. Now let's add the spear talisman and see how much that does. 304 damage. So you're getting 100 more damage when you use the spear talisman. So that's a really important talisman to use for crossbow users. The last thing I'm going to talk about in this video is crossbow builds. Currently the most optimal setup for crossbow is to use it with a colossal sword. And there's one major reason for this. A loaded crossbow can be cancelled into a crouch, thus leading into an R1. So when people try to aggress your crossbow, all you have to do is crouch R1. Also, you can cancel a loaded crossbow into a jump, which is a very good mix-up. I hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you everybody for watching. I also want to give a big shout out to Femboy Bussy, who helped me from start to finish with making this video, and also helped me to figure out and discover a lot of this new tech. So thank you, Femboy Bussy, I really appreciate it. Have a good day everyone.